Okay, and without any further ado, let's continue. I've got on the line with me today, Aditya Varma, Kelsey Blomquist, and James Bamford are experts from the team. And I'll ask people to start off by introducing themselves. James, can you go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is James Bamford. I'm a solution architect on the ISV Success team. Been with Microsoft for almost 5 years. Been in and out of the dynamic space, helping out customers and partners and helping people learn more about Dynamics and the Power Platform.
All right. I'm going to ask Kelsey, can you give us a little bit about yourself next?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Kelsey Blomquist here. I am also on the ISV Success team, a solution architect, helping partners build on our business application platform. I've been at Microsoft and in the business applications for 9 years. I spent about 8 of those as a developer on Dynamics CRM and Power Apps, and now I'm on the ISV Success team helping partners and really happy to be here. Take it away, Adi.
Yeah, hey guys. Hi there, my name is Aditya Varma. I'm the solution architect lead for the ISV engagement team here. Been in Microsoft for 15 years throughout the career here in the Dynamics 365 CRM, as well as the Power Platform team as well. Background being on the engineering and developer side to start with, and then for the last 10 years on the solution architecture space.
And let's talk a little bit about what it is that you can ask about in this session, the things that we could cover.
Yeah, so quickly, just to give you guys a quick overview of what we will be covering. Anything in the technical arena as it assigns to yourself in terms of an ISV, the development patterns, the architecture, the first-party applications, we can cover all of that. Questions that you might have on the certification side, we'll cover as well. We will take action items with respect to licensing. We're not the experts, we are the technical experts. The go-to-market as well as the co-sell benefits. If you do have, feel free to put them in so that we can take action items to provide you that. We will not be covering the in-depth on the Azure pieces, but we can cover Azure components which might be related to the Dynamics, architecture and design elements. We'll cover those, but not the Azure elements which are not related to the Dynamics.
Awesome.
So with that, we can go through the questions.
Okay, so Adi, just to kick us off, why don't you give us a bit of actually, I think that Kelsey, you're going to do this. Give us a little bit of a high-level look at what the architecture of Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform looks like, so people can understand where it is that we're coming from and the kinds of things that we look at.
Sure, sounds great. Kelsey here. So when we're talking about the Microsoft Business Application ecosystem, we sort of have multiple layers that you can see. And really on the base core ground of it, you see a lot of Azure components, which allow you to use bigger data and scale out whatever you're using within your other business applications. And what you see on top of that is really the Power Platform. We have multiple applications you can use, whether or not you want to create an app, if you want to do workflows, if you want to get analytics from that, if you want to create a virtual bot. We give you these citizen developer applications in order to have sort of a low code, no code use to create what you need. And if you need to extend that and do bigger pro development, you can use the Azure components that come along with those. And then on top of that, the way that we can use our data and we can gather intelligence from that, Microsoft supplies first-party applications in multiple industries. So if you use Microsoft CRM, that includes things like sales, marketing, service, the ones that you see in the top of the inner circle. If you use different things like within finance and operations, you have commerce, supply chain management, HR. And even within those, you can gather insights on top of this data. So then we have different first-party applications, including sales insights, customer insights, service insights, and these will allow you to further use the Microsoft first-party apps in order to get insights on the data that you have. And so all of this ecosystem, we really have 4 big pillars. We want to make sure that it's modern for today's world, that it's unified, so your data can be used amongst the entire string of applications that are, that exist, and then your applications that you build on top of those. They have to be intelligent so that you can build your insights and analytics on top of it, and they have to be able to adapt easily because the world is ever changing. So this sort of, gives a really good display of what exists in the Microsoft Business Apps, from our first-party apps to the Power Platform you can build on top of, to Azure, which has a lot of the underlying products that you can use and extend on top of that. Now, if you go to the next slide as well, there is a core component here, which is known as the Common Data Service. So we call it CDS. And this is under the covers. A lot of people may think it's just data storage, but that's not true at all. There's so much more that exists within CDS. And you get this out of the box if you use Dynamics, if you use the Power Platform. If you're using any of these, you have access to CDS, which allows you, all of these different areas. You can either make it secure with your authentication and authorization. You can add logic. You can do different things with your data with clues modeling and make sure that it's stored safely. And then you can integrate to a lot of different pieces within the business app platform. So just as a high level architecture to get you guys understanding what's all included with the Biz Apps ecosystem.
Cool. Thanks, Kelsey. I don't know if people are seeing this, but there's a few questions that are popping up in the chat. Please, as I said, use that upvote button. Very quickly, before we dive in any further, I've got a question here, Adi and crew. There's a Power BI questions. Is Power Query available for integration into your app? And the second one is, he says, I can see that I can add custom connectors or visualizations, but can I add code functionality other than by providing DAX source? Essentially, he has some thoughts about products, but he's not really quite sure how to monetize them and how to use Power BI.
Yeah, definitely. The Power BI components especially can also be integrated through the Power Platform itself. So if they have Power Query connectivity that can effectively be launched with Power BI, that can effectively be then used to embed within the Power applications, as well as the Power Automate mechanisms to pull the data effectively can be easily done. So what was the second part of the question there, Alec?
Sure. The second part to that question was, he says, I can see that I can add custom connectors or visualizations. This is David E, by the way, if you're listening, David. But can I add code functionality other than providing DAX source?
It should be possible. Without going into the further details of exactly what they're doing, it's going to be hard to answer, but it should be possible for them to embed that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's move along here. I've got another one, which says, one is from Chris. He says, is there an API to enable actual generation of Power Platform solutions and apps as opposed to a GUI-driven creation system? Sorry, can you repeat that? Is there an API to enable actual generation of Power Platform solutions and apps as opposed to the citizen developer interface that we use? Yeah, definitely. I think if you can pull up one of the slides, we are actually going to talk about that as well. So every single layer of the application is extensible. That would also include the API layer. So the CDS itself is fully API enabled directly through web APIs. Or you can also have web services for SOAP endpoints if you so choose. So effectively, you can consume that. And this slide kind of gives you a good overview of that, where you can either extend it all the way from the application layer, or you can extend it from the business layer. But if you so choose, you can also consume the APIs directly. And we have a fully supported mechanism of web APIs, as we call it, for you to consume those APIs into your application suite itself. Now, if I were to give you a quick overview, if you kind of go one slide above, Alec, into slide number
17, there is actually a good overview slide there that actually provides that information.
This one is the one you're looking for. Is that one?
Yeah. Yeah. So effectively, there are 3 patterns that we look for as an ISV that you can use. Number 1 is what we call as build, which means you can custom build your applications directly on the Power Platform. You can consume the Power BI, Power Automate, or Power Apps ecosystem to build your application, or you can extend the first-party applications as Dynamics 365 applications can be used to extend directly. Both these effectively can build upon the Power constructs, or you can connect using the custom connector. I think you guys are fully aware, many of you who have been developing on top of our platform would have seen this. But one of the key things is the CDS itself is fully API enabled, which means if you are building custom applications per se, you can consume those directly from CDS using the API layer in order to custom build your application. So certainly possible. And if you were to go to the next slide, Alec, that also provides the full extensibility details that you had shown earlier. So effectively, if I were to touch upon this, the Web API layer is provided to the platform by CDS for all consumption. You can also do UI level mechanisms of extensibility. You can do business logic level extensibility. You can do data model level of extensibility, or you can build custom connectors directly to your data sources.
Okay. I have another one that's related to that, which is, this is an anonymous question. He says, as a vendor who sells a product where the majority of customers host our product and data on-premise, are there any areas of Power Platform that we can leverage to surface their data to the citizen developers that don't require a premium SKU? That's a licensing question, isn't it?
So let's talk about it without the licensing piece first, right? Like, if we were to, bifurcate that conversation away from the licensing, the connectors itself, you can build custom connectors and you can use the gateways of the custom connectors to be able to connect to the end customers' on-premises data. So through gateways directly to their on-premises data, you should be able to connect. Once you are able to expose those connectors through those gateways, you are able to now access the data so that you can then light it up into your Power App ecosystem, be it Power Apps or Power Automate. So with that functionality, you should be able to provide a mechanism for you to be able to extend, the application suite to their data source.
All right. Okay. Let's have a look at another one here. We've got one question here, which is actually about developer programs from Chris. He says, as an ISV, are there developer programs and resources that assist ISVs who might want to target the Power Platform as a delivery platform for ISV developed solutions?
Yeah, definitely. As part of the ISV Connect program, we do have a suite of technical functionality, if you may, or within the program, let's call it the technical benefits that you can leverage. So as part of that, obviously, as a developer, you will be able to get a certain number of what we call as internal user rights for developers that can be provided to you as an ISV in order for you to develop your applications on top of D365, Dynamics 365, or on top of the Power Platform itself.
All right.
Apart from that, there are other elements. Obviously, from a Azure DevOps perspective, we do have full functionality for you to be able to develop using the Azure DevOps mechanisms on top of the Power Platform. That's just the technical side of things. But to answer your question, yeah, there is a lot of technical benefits as part of the ISV Connect program that are available to you when you become part of the Connect.
Great, great. I have another Power Platform question here. This is from Juan. He asks, I understand that if I build a model-driven app, I can't include Power Automate flows in that. Has that changed, or will it change soon?
Yeah, definitely. They should be able to integrate Power Automate flows within the model-driven applications as well. So effectively, we already have several mechanisms within model-driven applications today, like business process flows, such as the direct workflows as well. You can also now effectively incorporate mechanisms using Power Automate into the overall suite, so that now you can build, should I say, business automation flows all up within the model-driven application suite.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. Here's a question from John O. Are there any plans to provide ISVs with tools to protect and license their Power Platform solutions when deployed in customer tenants?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way we look at it is the mechanism to protect your IP, right? So this is a question of IP protection. So let's break it up first. As long as you are able to provide your IP through solutioning constructs into AppSource, there are mechanisms in place for you to protect your IP for certain elements. So now let's get into the question of what is IP, right? If you are usually the way we define is we don't want to consider like entity structure, entity schema as an IP, because that is easily copyable by anybody. So now that becomes a question of, should I say, patenting as opposed to IP protection. So from the construct of IP protection, anything that you want to protect can be effectively be put into compute elements, such as, if you may, plugins and other elements which are coded. Then you can release those elements into AppSource using the managed constructs of solutioning, which will then prevent a particular customers to be able to copy that IP out of those solutions. So long story short, answer would be definitely look at the AppSource as the mechanism to publish your IP. That way it is stored as managed solutions, which will then protect your IP altogether. There was another part of that question about the application suite itself. So as long as you are able to construct the entire package into an application suite, then now you have a proper boundary around those elements.
Okay, I just wonder, Adi, Kelsey, it seems like we've got a number of different questions about sort of technical benefits as well to the ISV Connect program. Maybe we can just spend a few minutes on that in general and cover off some of those questions. So Kelsey, if you don't mind, I know there's a slide in here that talks to that. Can you speak up about that one?
Sure, yeah. So if you join the ISV Connect program, there are quite a few technical benefits that come along with it. Here we've listed out a few of them. I know Adi also mentioned, about having the resources in those environments, access to use them as test environments. So that's something that's not listed here. But I think the biggest one is just you get that technical consultative support. So you get your own PTA, which is a partner technical architect that works with you, one-on-one on your application. So whether you want some sort of like full day workshop, if you want to do build with sessions to build your application or your workflow or whichever application you're using, they can work with you on that. If you have technical questions, they will be there as someone for you to reach out to. And if they don't know the answer, they can also reach out to us. So we're kind of their backstop. So we'll work to also help. And so you'll have kind of that closer communication with engineering and the product team as well. But if you know what's on the slide here, we talk about the PTA, there's also developer licenses. So you do get CE licenses and access to F&O as part of being in the program. Instead of having to pay to get those licenses, you can do that for your testing. We give you a technical support call to onboard you to AppSource to answer all of your questions and make sure that you understand AppSource, how to get your stuff certified, and we'll walk you through that as well. And then we do have something called ISV Studio, which allows ISVs to see analytics on their applications. How many times they've been downloaded, if they're having issues when they're trying to be installed. And right now it's kind of basic, but we've been putting a lot of resources into this in order to fill that out, because we know it's really important for ISVs to get the analytics on their applications. So that's just listing, those kind of top benefits. There's a lot of sort of little things that come along with it too. And us being here as well, trying to help you through your process. So Adi, I don't know if you had anything else to add, or James, on other technical benefits. But does that answer the question for people? Are there specific questions you have about the technical benefits?
Yeah, the only thing I would like to add to that is we are definitely investing heavily on the ISV persona per se. So as part of that, as Kelsey mentioned, the ISV Studio mechanism is your first step into clearly getting a visibility of how your app is doing globally. This is to start with in terms of the app's, should I say, install base, but we are expanding on that particular element as well. There are other things that are already coming as part of the ISV Studio itself, which is to give you mechanisms as developers to be able to check your application for, should I say, quality, in terms of is it in the bounds of full supportability inside the platform. So we have fully incorporated the Power Apps Checker as part of the ISV Studio as well recently. So we are putting definitely more enhancements into the studio, which now becomes your singular administrative pane for your application globally that can be used to give you visibility of how your application is doing on top of the platform. So that's number one. And definitely there are more elements such as that we are actually putting in the platform itself for from an ISV perspective.
Okay, cool. We've got just a few minutes left here. There's one question which I've seen a good sized vote up on here. This is from Yuri. He says, as an ISV, we do not only have Office 365 customers, O365 customers, but also customers that use other products. We'd like to move away from a username password table to auth and use Active Directory. Customers who have O365 can use their own org's AD, but we need a fallback scenario for customers who do not have ADP or IDP. There's no support in Azure offering to do this scenario, or at least we can't discover this. Is there a scenario that Microsoft would support here?
So yeah, that's a good question. I think from the mechanism of Dynamics specifically, as well as the Power Platform, we rely on Azure AD as our identity provider. And then through that, effectively, the mechanisms of extensibility of Azure AD, who is the identity provider, with other third-party suite of applications that they rely on through claims-based, if you may, or through OAuth, if you may. So we kind of rely on that. So this question seems to be a little more detailed on the Azure mechanisms of identity provision. We do provide a mechanism for applications for within, should I say, business application suite. So if you are writing an application that is integrating with the dynamic suite of applications or Power Platform, we do provide a mechanism for you to integrate with that suite as a application identity as opposed to a user-based identity. So that mechanism is available for you to interact with effectively what we call the common data service. But of course, there are elements that we will need to take a follow-up action on with regards to the underlying question that you had asked for of the Azure AD's extensibility for support. But today we support claims-based authentication. We do support OAuth-based authentication, as well as obviously the user identity authentication.
Cool. Thanks, Adi. I've got one more here, and then we should finish up. This is from David E. He says, I was wondering if you could incorporate Power Query into my app. Then, for example, do specialized operations and then write them to CDS. So can he use Power Query as part of his app?
Yeah, so we do offer Power BI apps available up on AppSource. So you can incorporate Power BI, Power Query into your app before you publish it up to AppSource. So short answer to a good question.
Cool. Before I finish up, any final thoughts from you, Kelsey, James, or Adi?
None for me.
All right.
Yeah, maybe we can just talk about real quick before we conclude. I do want to talk about the ISV ecosystem momentum.
Sure.
There is definitely a very high momentum that we are seeing. So this is the right opportunity. We have, over the last 1 year through the ISV Connect program, not to, I know this is a technical session, but I don't want to belittle that, but we have seen over 1,000 ISVs effectively, launch with us. We have seen over 1,000 certified applications over the last 1 year, and we are seeing a great momentum. And a lot of this momentum we are seeing also is with a lot of Azure ISVs who are now looking at business end cases that they can integrate with Dynamics as well as Power Platform. So great momentum there. Just a few examples of the ISVs are also highlighted. So great opportunity. It's going to be a great year ahead as well. So highly encourage everybody, especially from the Azure ecosystem as an ISV, to start thinking about business end cases that can be lighted up by integrating with Dynamics. I do want to highlight another quick slide as well. And as a resource, we do have the ISV Connect link for you guys. Any questions that you might have, please go out to that webpage, and then you can get more details on the Connect program, as well as any technical questions that you might have. As an ISV, you can reach out to us via there.
Wonderful. Thanks, Adi. And for everybody who joined in, thank you very much for coming. I know we had only a short amount of time, and I hope this has been useful. You've got some great links to follow up with here as well if you want to speak with Adi or Kelsey or James online. And of course, as Adi just pointed out, there is the ISV Connect program as well. And with that, thank you very much, and appreciate you tuning in.